Hello everyone, I am Melanie with Painting Crafty, and today I'm going to be walking you step-by-step tutorial of how to draw this trio of fun, festive little snowmen, as well as do a simple little watercolor technique on the top. Now today I am in a YouTube hub. There happens to be other creators that will be following me, and after me is going to be Jeannie with Clifton's Crafting Casa. It's a mouthful to say that name, but her link to her page is included in my description. So if you want to go ahead and follow on the hop, you'll be able to follow her as well. And I also have posted in the description the other presenters who are in the Take 5 group today, who will be also doing some lives. Well, let's jump right into the drawing process. On my page, I do drawing and drawing tutorials step by step, and also watercolor on the top of it is what I normally do. So the paper I'm going to be using today, if you're new to my page, is the Canson brand watercolor paper. It's 120 pound water, 140 pound. I was looking at a different number. 140 pound watercolor paper. It's still considered a student grade watercolor paper, but it works great for, I do a lot of drawing and sketching. It's very reasonably priced, but you're going to get really nice results with the Canson brand watercolor paper. At least I find I do anyway. And I'm just going to be using a mechanical pencil and a few other things. Signo Uniball pen, I'm going to be using a little bit of that as well. And just going to be doing some simple techniques. So just grab some paper. Even if you're not going to be doing the watercolor, quite honestly, once you get your image drawn, you can fill it in any way you want to with acrylic paint, colored crayons, whatever, colored pencils, whatever you might have. Hello, Wendy. Thanks for coming on. Well, I'm going to switch the screen over so you have a bigger view of my picture of what we're going to be drawing today. Now, when I teach draw-alongs, I will grid off my page. This is a 6x6 drawing today. So I'm going to draw a line down the middle and draw a line across this way as well. That's just going to be able to help you get a better idea of proportions of how big and small I'm drawing things. So I'm going to just do that. I'm going to have that across, and I'm going to start with the guy in the middle is where I'm going to start. So let's take a look at our little guy here. And you'll notice I did kind of square off. I gave him kind of a marshmallow style face is what I'm going to call it. Hello, Debbie. Thanks for coming on. And it's got a little bit of a soft angle at that point of his edges. He is no taller than the center line right here. Hello, Darla. Thanks for coming on. You're the next group. Yeah, I'm glad you're joining the hop today. We are going to keep him in this line right here. That's the center line. If I look, I do lightly over here on the edges, the half points in each of those squares. He's not any bigger than half of my page over here. And that's going to give enough room for his little comrades, his little extra buddies that are going to be off to the side. So let's go ahead and start with our middle guy. Hi, Jeannie. So we're going to start there first. So I'm going to start with the center little snowman, and I'm just going to rough in my shape first. So I know I'm not going to go any higher than my middle line. And if I want to make a little tick, like just to get an idea, where's the half of points on each side? Sometimes that's helpful. Just put a little tick mark there so you're not going to get him too big. And I know I'm going to want to stay in between those lines. So I'm just going to come around. This is going to be the top of his head. It's just like drawing a regular old snowman, except for doing all the way round balls. I'm going to give it that marshmallow look, where it's got a little bit of a square edge here, more of a square, and then round it up. So he's got that little bit of a marshmallowy look to him. Now I'm going to come right off to the side here, and this is where I'm going to do like his shoulders would drop in here, and it would come off to the side. And it fills up a pretty good fair amount of my space. I only have just about that much left over there and about the same over here. That's going to be able to settle my little guys who are in the background. They're going to be looking like they're peeking behind him if I draw it that way. So here I'm going to make it off to the side. And it doesn't matter that it's exact. You're just going to kind of want to take a look. Does it make sense? Does it kind of look the same on each side? That'll just make your drawing a little bit more even. Now let's go ahead and pop that stocking hat in. So the stocking hat is just kind of got a little bit of a sad face arch here. If by arching your drawing, that's just going to give it a little bit more contour so it looks like it's going around or it has a little bit more dimension instead of just doing a straight line. So let's look here, and I'm going to go make sure I go across his forehead just a little bit, and I'm going to be making that sad face shape just like that. And then I'm going to come up on my edges This is going to be the side of my hat. Then I'm going to come up above my center line. And this is going to be that same motion where I'm be traveling in that sad face shape. And here we come around. Now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm just going to erase this here in the middle so I can open up the space and take a look. See what my drawing looks like, if I'm happy with the contour of the way it's shaping around his head, and see if I like that. Now I like the look of it going around, but I think I want to loosen it up just a little bit more. So I'm going to kind of give my line a little bit of a wiggle so it's not exact. So it's got looks like it's just a little bit irregular on his head. That's just going to loosen up my drawing just a little bit. And I'm going to make sure I'm coming up. I'm going to round that edge off there a little bit. And I'm going to come here and make sure my top part here is rounded. Okay, I got that part on. Now let's go ahead and make the next part up. It's going to be the top part of his head. And this is just that upside down U shape right there. You're going to need to make sure you have some space up above to put a banner, however big your paper is. So I'm just going to look right here and I'm going to start off to my side. I'm going to put a tick mark here so I have an idea of where I'm heading. So I'm going to come around. This kind of reminds me of I don't know, a little bit of a cake shape where I don't want too big of a point on the top of his head, not for this style of hat anyway. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to off-center the ball just a little bit. I'm going to put it off to the side here just to give it a little bit more character. All right, so there he has his little bit of a hat on there, that part of the top of his face. I'm thinking I'm going to shape this out just a little bit more. Give his face a little bit more character. I want to come in here. I'm going to do out and around. So I want to give it just a little bit more character. Coming around and then down. All right, let's go ahead and put his scarf on. So his scarf is going to go in between. So I'm going to cover up part of his face and cover up part of his body. This is the same thing here. We want to add a little bit of curvature to his scarf. So that means this is going to be a smile, just a real gentle smile face shape this direction, and just a little gentle smile face. It's got ever so slightly, just a little bit of a bump, just to kind of indicate that his scarf has a little bit of a fold in it. So let's come this direction here. We're going to come around. This is going to be the smile face shape that I'm looking for. That. Here's that little curve I was talking about. That's going to come off to my edges. That'll give it a little bit more dimension. And then we're going to copy that smile face shape again, coming around. Now I'm going to erase this in the middle too, so that just opens this up, allows me to see what I just drew. And if I'm happy with it, and I think I am. Now for his knot, I did put it off to the one side a little bit. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to do a little bit of a knot. I made the knot part just a little bigger than my scarf, just to give it a little dimension. And then I put a tail on my scarf. Now you could do this anyway. I just made it so it was skinnier here and then it got slightly wider at that end. And then I'm going to come on this side and add a little tail here as well. All right, and then erase whatever might be in the inside. Open up that space. You can see what you got. Okay, cute. He is done. That part is done. Now let's work a little bit on his face. Now for his face, I off-centered it a little bit as well. So if you look here, here's my center line. I want to put my eyes off to the side here, and then my nose is going to come underneath that and wiggle, squiggle up. And then we're going to give him kind of a little bit of a character smile. So it's not going to be just a straight smile. So let's start with his eyes. So I'm going to start with his eyes, and I'm going to come off to this area. When I do eyes, I like to do one going like off to this direction, and then the other one will be the other direction. So I'm going to start here, and then I'll make his other eye here, like that. Now it looks kind of silly until we get the nose in. So my nose is going to be a little wider back here. And what I literally do is I just wiggle my pencil back and forth to come up to a carrot top. That way it kind of leaves it loose. It's not so tight, and it just kind of wiggles, squiggles around. And then for my smile, I'm going to go ahead and do just a little smile cheek like that. I'm going to put a little one up a little bit higher. So his smile is going to come up and around. So what I'm going to do for the first original time I went up and then down. I think I'm going to try down first and then come around and see what kind of a smile I get by creating that. So let's come down this way, a little bit of a wiggle jiggle, and then up. think that looks fine. I think he's got that little goofy grin on him. He will have darker eyes with a little bit of white showing in the middle. And I did do just a tiniest little bit of eyebrow. He looks so cute. He looks darling. Now we have that little guy on. Let's go ahead and draw his friends now. So let's go ahead and peek his friends in there. So to do the friends, I started with the rims of their hats. And I just want to make sure that part of the rim of the hat is kind of tucking behind the snowman. And then these will do that arch as well. This will be that sad face motion on there to give it some curvature. So let's take a look. I want to make sure I'm going to start mine here. My first hat, I'm going to curve it slightly down like that sad face shape, just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to pop over here and copy my line I just drew. Okay, so there's that part of that hat. Now let's come over here to this guy. I drew it either a little lower or a little higher, just somewhere around in this area. I'm going to make my hat. This one I kind of came up just a little bit first, and then I came across, just to change my hat up just a little bit and then come down. So he's going to have just a little bit different looking hat, or he's tucked behind the snowman, just slightly different. And so they're all both in there. And you know what? I might do that same with this one this time. Maybe I will come around, do a little bit of a U like that. So just the tiniest bit behind him. So now it looks like those other two little snowmen are right behind there. Your red heart shape. Yes, that's that emoji thing that kind of messed me up too, Jeannie. It writes the words instead of showing the emoji. It's so funny. So let's go ahead and put the rest of their hats in. So let's take a look. For their hats, I kind of came up, did a little bit of a jog, and then carried their hat off of the page, but then picked it up again and made it go with the little end of a ball. I just thought that looked kind of interesting to be able to do that, and then it made sense that their faces, I didn't see the sides. All I saw was just like they were behind him. So that's why I ended up drawing the hats that way. So let's start here. I'm going to come up. Now, on my original one, they weren't too far above my center line. The same thing we have to keep in mind is that we're going to have some sticks that will be holding the sign, like the little guy is holding the sign up. So we have to keep that in mind, as we need a little bit of room for that. So I'm going to come up at the angle here, come around, start curving, and then go off your page. Then take like it's an invisible line over. Where would you end up? Oh, maybe right there. And then I would come around with this top part here. And then I would bring it up and around, and it curves all the way back around. And then there's going to be a little ball here at the end of his hat. Okay, cute as can be. Let's come on this side. So now we're going to kind of do the same thing, but just the opposite direction. So we're going to come up, curve it around, head towards my edge. There, it's off my paper. Then I'm going to come around, take a look. Where would I start? Probably right there. Come to a point, and then up and around, add a little ball. And there's his little hat. Let's pop in their faces now. So for his faces, we're going to go a little, I want to make sure I got a little bit lower. So I'm going to be starting about right here. If I take a look, I don't want my eyes up too high for this one. I want to drop it down so I'm taking up some of the space. So I'm going to be having my smile here, my nose here, and my eyes. So I'm going to start with my eyes again, and I'm going to do just a shape like that. So they're going opposite directions. Let's pop in the nose, curve it around, up with the nose, a little bit of a squiggle line. I'm going to have a cheek line here probably, and a cheek line here. Okay, then let's drop in that smile. Come down, give it a little wiggle, and then up. Okay, he's cute. All right, that one's done. Let's see. It's a little bit tricky sometimes to get your eyes drawn the same size. But that's what erasers are for, to be able to erase if you need to. Now let's go ahead and do this guy on this side. So now his eyes are going to be more over here. So I'm going to do one facing this way, and then I'm going to be switching my angle and go the other direction. All right, let's put his little nose in. It's going to wiggle, squiggle back and forth, and then curve it around to a point. And that's just enough to say it's a carrot, when by the time we get it painted orange, people are gonna know it's a carrot. Now let's come over here and do his little smile face. So we're gonna I'm gonna do a little line here and perhaps a little line here. Then I'm gonna drop it down, give it a little wiggle, and then up we go. Now if you don't like it, which I didn't care for that little extra squiggle in there, you can always erase it and bring it back up. Okay, super cute. I'm going to erase these little lines right here because I no longer need those. I'll do a better erase at the end because I'm going to use some pen work today on this. So I know I'm going to be changing some things, but I'll just erase this lightly just to give me more an idea of what my drawing is looking like. Okay, that looks good. Now, let's go ahead and put in the banner. So then I can put this little guy's arms in so I know where those are going to be. So let's go ahead and do this little banner. So the banner has this top kind of an S shape here. So you're going to roll it up, roll it down, coming across. And then you're going to roll it up, roll it down, and you're going to end the same way. So it's that same motion, back and forth, and then we'll throw some tails on each side. So let's start at the top for my banner. So I'm going to start here at the top, and I'm going to roll up a little bit and then roll down and then roll up. So we got up, down, up. All right, then let's come down here and do the same thing. So we're going to come here, we're going to go up, roll down, following what I just kind of did, and then up. All right, now let's put our tails on. So our tails are just going to be those little V shape, that little V shape here at the end. So we're going to come up with that little V shape and connect them up. All right, so we have our little lines done. So let's erase this. Now I'm going to be doing some just basic hand printing using my own handwriting, nothing too fancy. Hello, Susan, thanks for coming on. We're going to go ahead and I'm just going to write in Happy New Year. Now I know the happy is going to be the farthest one over here. My new was kind of in the middle, and then from that point on. So let's start here. What makes this handwriting, it's more like a drawing skill. The more you practice it, the more you're going to figure out a rhythm for your hand and how you like to make letters. What I think looks good is often if you add some uppercase and lowercase together, that it's not all of the same. And by mixing it up, then your eye doesn't look like, oh, it's off so much. So if you mix it up, so I have uppercase, lowercase, some uppercase, mix it up that way. And let's put the new in here. We'll see if I can't get I'm drawing off to the side of my paper, which always makes it a little bit of a challenge. Let's see, we'll put that on there like that. And then let's put the year. Now, if you want to, you could actually put the year in here of what year it is. You could write the numbers, but I'm just going to keep it just as Happy New Year. And then kick my foot like that just to give it a little bit of celebration. This will also have a little bit of some tassels on the end when I do the pen work will be on there. So now this little guy is holding it up with his stick arms. So let's pop in some stick arms here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little kind of a backwards C motion here and a little backwards C motion here. And now I know how high I need to make my sticks. And my other, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and put the ones that are holding his sign first. So let's put some sign sticks in. So the sign sticks are just going to be opposite directions. So one is going to be this way, one is going to be that way. And the sticks are behind the banner, so they're connected behind. So let's go ahead and do that. And I noticed when I drew this one, I didn't go any lower than the top or that middle line of my paper. So I'm going to want to keep it up just a little bit higher. So let's take a look here. I can draw my single line first where I want my first stick like that, and then come over here and draw the next one. Okay, and then double that line because that will be just like a little stick that he's going to be holding in his hand, the little banner, up and down. Okay, so we have that. Now let's draw the long sticks of his arms. And let's take a look at his arms. They're not very wide. There's a little bit like dual lines here where there's two, and then it just goes right into a single line for what the fingers would be. And then I just made it look, and we're going to simply create the looks like he's kind of holding it by just creating where one of the finger lines would go on top of the stick, and the other finger line would go under the stick. So that's all it is, simple like that. So we're going to start with a stick that they're both going up. So let's go ahead and create those ones. So we're going to start here. And I know I'm heading this direction here. So here we go, up, going across. Then when I get here, this is where I'm going to V off. So I'm going to do a V this way. And maybe I got to make this line a little bit longer. And then I'm going to do a V line that's going to come across this way and this way. And maybe I still need to make this stick a little longer so it looks like he's holding it between his little fingers. And I'd have one line up, and maybe there's another line behind. Okay, so that made sense there. So let's go ahead and draw the line that matches. So we're going to start here. Then we're going to get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until it's just one. Anything that's inside of that area that we just drew, we erase because the stick of his arms are going to be in front. So we would just erase that line. So let's come this direction and draw the next one. So we're going to come up this way. And let's see, I'm thinking I should make this stick a little bit longer as well. We're going to curve it around. Let's V. Let's see, we'll have that one maybe coming behind. And it doesn't have to really look like he's really holding anything. It's just your eye will read that, oh, the snowman is hanging onto the banner. Now I'm going to go a little wider here and then get smaller and smaller until it's just one line. And then erase whatever might be inside. Okay, they're pretty much all the drawing part is done. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of micron pen work. So the micron pens are my favorite pens to do my ink work with when I'm doing watercolor because this one is an archival ink. Once it's dry, it will stay permanent. It won't move around when you put the watercolor on. And so today I'm going to be using a 03 and a 01. Now, I believe you can buy these at most of your craft supply stores. You used to be able to buy them at Walmart, but now it's just I can find them at Target, but I can't find them at Walmart. But if you're going to be doing a pen and ink look, I would highly suggest these. These are a great little pen and easy to find as well. You can just shop for them and not have to order them online, but you can order them online as well. Now, the majority of my picture, I'm going to be outlining in a 03. So I'm going to be popping on in here. Now, for those who might be new to my channel, I would love it if you're finding this informative or you would like to draw along with me more often is to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I love having new people coming along. I have a very small page. I'm new to this, so I appreciate those who subscribe to my channel. Also, YouTube likes the thumbs up. So if you would give me a thumbs up, that would be super appreciative. I would really appreciate that. Just a little different type of a world than what Facebook would normally on. My Facebook page is also underneath Painting Crafty, so you can find me there. I do draw-alongs there as well. And for those who do draw along and you would like to share your pictures that you draw, if you would just pop on over to my Facebook page, there'll be a post with this picture in there, and you can just go ahead and post right underneath there your image of what you drew. I'm a firm believer that it doesn't have to look like mine to be good. There's many different ways to do this picture, and it doesn't have to look like mine. And I believe that you are also an encourager for those who are just starting to draw, or you give ideas and inspiration to other people as well. So I love sharing your things, and it's just a nice little community that I have of drawers that come over. All ages, all abilities are welcome to join in the art fun. And normally I go live twice a week. If I'm on Facebook, sometimes I'm on Facebook Live as well, but they are always the videos are always shared to my YouTube page. So you would always be able to find the videos over there. So yes, please come along and join the art fun. I would really appreciate it and love for you to join me. Okay, let's go ahead and draw these lines here. All right, now with this little picture, because these are small, sometimes I give it a little bit of heat before I were to actually do the watercolor on here. Now with his eyes, with all of the eyes, I try to leave a little bit of white inside of there as a catch light. That just brings everything to life, and it makes it more like all of a sudden it has life if you add that little bit of white. I try to leave it when I'm doing my marker work, but if I can't get it in or I forget about getting that white in, I will come back either with like a uni ball pen with a little bit of white ink. I can do it that way. Or sometimes even just a tish bit of acrylic paint is what I might use to bring that brightness right back into his eyes. Now I'm not going to be going over the nose. I'm going to leave the nose in pencil. I'm not going to do it a dark line just because I wanted more. I don't know why I chose to do it. I just chose to do it that way. But you most certainly could do it in ink if you wanted to add. I think I would bump down and do a 0, 1 instead of the 0, 3 line. And I will be switching to my 0, 1 to do some of the little finer work on this. And once I get this part done, I'm going to start the watercolor. And my philosophy for watercolor is if you're interested in watercolor, just buy the watercolor that you can afford and just start practicing. Buy the little bit better grade of paper. And even when I even say that, Canson isn't terribly expensive. Buy just a little bit better watercolor paper. Then you'll have a little better result and just start working with what other watercolor you can afford. Because just like anything, there's different prices with in paint for other paints. The same thing holds true for watercolor. You can buy super expensive paint or you can just buy a beginner set and start. I'm going to turn it this way so I can make my hand go around. And actually when I haven't been doing watercolor all that long. Maybe about 3.5 years, right around there. And when I started doing watercolor, I actually used the Crayola markers to be able to create my drawings with. Because any water-based marker you can turn into or use as watercolor. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is take the watercolor marker, take a plastic bag or any like hard plastic surface, and then create a patch of color, and then add some water to that patch of color, and voila, you have watercolor. So it was a simple way for me to start and to see if I actually liked watercolor without really not making a big investment. And the Crayola brand has a lot of great colors. So I encourage you to try that too if you're just new to watercolor. I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser now. I like using these polymer erasers, these white ones. They don't leave marks on your paper. If they get too dirty, now this one's starting to pick up a lot of my pencil. I can rub that on like just a scrap piece of paper and get that off if I need to. But this one will just erase this. Now I have a heavy hand, so I tend to draw a little bit harder. And part of it is so that you can see what I'm doing, but also because I have a heavy hand. So I like to use this marker or this eraser. But the thing about using this type of eraser is that you're going to get all these little pill balls of eraser on your paper. But there's a simple way to get rid of that. Now you could just brush it off into the garbage can with a soft brush. That would work. A little makeup brush if you don't want to spend a lot, just pick up something like that. Or the little tool that I really like to use is this little desk vacuum. So this will pick up all those little bits. And then they go in here instead of all over my desk because I hate it when they get on my desk and they're traveling around with me. Okay, so I have that. Now I'm also going to use another eraser. So that gets rid of most of my dark lines. You can always see where I kind of forgot. And another type of eraser you can use is a kneaded eraser. And I'm going to use this on the nose and the carrot part of my snowman because I didn't want to put it in dark. I'm just going to roll it over the top of my graphite of my pencil. And that's just going to lighten that line. You won't see my pencil line as heavy. And that works great for that. And you can actually use this over your entire picture. If you wanted to use an eraser like this, that's what that would work like. Okay, now they look funny without any noses. There was one other thing I wanted to add. I wanted to come in and add my little eyebrows. This is the 0, 1 lines. Here we go. I'm going to add some doodle patterns as well to my little hats. So let's add those in. So I'm going to just divide this part off here by adding a little doodle pattern. This is all being done in the 1. I'm going to do some dash lines and some solid lines. So I'm going to break my pattern up just a little bit so it's not all solid. And I'll be adding a few more doodle lines at the end. If I have time, I'll be including those in. I'll be adding some doodle lines to the outside of his face. So I'll be adding some of these in and on his hat just to add a little bit more interest. So all of them are slightly different. Thanks, Deb. Thanks so much. Thanks for popping on. Deb has drawn with me for a long time. I so appreciate my people who are longtime followers and all of their support they've given my page over the years. I so appreciate them coming on and joining in with me. Now, I didn't leave a lot of room up there for that top one, but that's okay. Make some of these little squiggly lines here. Okay, and we're going to be ready to go ahead and start. Now I did a little bit of wiggly lines here. So these ones I did wiggle. What I chose to do is I used similar colors for the color of the snowman for my colorations. I kind of carried those colors throughout my painting. And then I switched up the patterns is what I did to add a little bit of interest to my little guys that way. So I used similar colors all the way through, but then I switched up the patterns on the hats to give it a little bit more interest. I probably could have done better with doing the dividing it up. You could do this in pencil too if you feel more confident doing it in pencil before you were to put it on your paper. You could easily do that. I'm going to do little dash marks here. So I did 2 little skinny lines, or 3, or whatever that one. And then I did a dash mark on each side of those, just to give it a little bit of interest, like so. Okay, there we go. I'm thinking I'm ready to go ahead and start my watercolor. Now the little set I'm going to be using, hello Jeannie from Clifton's Crafty Casa. She's up next after me in the YouTube hop today. This is the little set that I'm going to be doing, and you would find her link inside of the description on my page in there. You can easily click on her link to be able to follow along. You'd want to see what Jeannie's creating. She does lots of different stenciling projects, so you never know what Jeannie's up to. So you want to stop on over and see what she's got going on there today. I usually keep a paper towel in my hand. This helps control the water. This little set is just an inexpensive set, but you still get 50 colors in it, which is kind of nice. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy watercolors, because I can come and sit at my table, open up my tray of colors, 50 colors, plus anything else I want to mix, and it's all just right there, and I don't have to drag out a lot of different things. So I just have some clean water off to my side up here. And that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to start with his hat, and the colorations that I used were kind of gold, a couple different golds, a pink, a red, and an orange. And that's all of the different shades. That's all I used for this little picture. So I'm going to create that look. So let's go ahead and start with the goldish yellow first and pop that in. Now watercolor, let's see, I can start here just a little bit and maybe that'll be helpful. Watercolor, when you do watercolor, you can get a little tray like this or any kind of hard surface. But these are cakes, so they're hard, and when you add the water to them, they're going to look so differently. So that's why I always say do a card when you first get your watercolor or whatever you're going to use. Use the paper that you're normally going to use and make a little color chart. So then you can really tell what the colors are going to look like when you actually use them water and add water to it and then put them on paper. Now I'm going to be mixing about a tea consistency is the consistency I'm going to be mixing when I do my watercolor. And you're going to start with your light colors first and then work your way dark. So this is about tea consistency. The more water you add, the lighter your colors are going to be. The less water, more pigment, of course the darker they're going to be. Now I'm going to be using just a Velvet Touch Princeton watercolor brush, a round, a number 6. This holds a fair amount of water. It's got a nice little point on it, which is really what you want to use when you're doing these little drawings. You want that nice point. I got something in there. And it's got a nice little bounce to it. So it's going to bounce. It's going to come right back to its shape. This one is, this particular, the Velvet Touch ones will. So it doesn't have a lot of smoosh to the brush. It's got a little bit more bounce to it. And I like that spring because that point's going to come back. Okay, so I'm just going to start here first, and I'm going to layer in my lightest color of my yellow. And for this, it's okay to leave a little bit of white showing. Watercolor is unusual that way because that would be your brightest whites. You can't bring the whites back once you cover them up unless you're using a pen or something like that. So it's okay to have some of your substrate showing. It's perfectly fine. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to layer some of that yellow here. And I wouldn't want to come in here and work this area right now because watercolor wants to travel wherever the paper is wet. So if I start working on this with a bunch of different colors, they're going to just blend into each other. They're going to run right into each other and bleed into each other. So you want to give your paper just a little bit of chance to dry before you work on the next area. It's a good tip for the brush. Yeah, it's a great little brush and it's not that expensive. So it's a good little brush to start out with. Okay, let's come here and I'm just going to choose a stripe and I'm going to just bring in my bright color yellow. That. Okay. Now, since that yellow is still kind of wet, I'm going to pop up and start with a pink on my banner. I'm just going to do a light pink. I'm going to come here. On my original one, I used a red right away, and I felt after I finished it, it was like, that was probably too dark to start with. So I'm just going to pop in some pink. I'm going to leave some open areas, some dark areas, and I'm going to give that a chance to dry. And then I'll add in another area. So I'm going to take that same pink and I'm going to come down here and work on his scarf. I'm going to pop that in. So I'm choosing areas that are not next to each other so I don't have to worry about my colors all mixing together. And they'll stay a little bit more vibrant and not so blended together. And I'm also leaving a little bit of white space there. Okay. Oops. Is that out? Now let's take a look. I can see that my part of my hat looks like it's pretty dry where I first started. I'm going to go ahead and pop in a little bit of pink up here on this ball. And I'm going to add some pink to the other balls too. So cute. All right, let's work a little bit on the snowman's body. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of gray over here. I have a gray in my set, and I'm going to just water it down fairly well. But then I'm also going to pick up just a little bit of light blue, and I'm going to add that to my gray. So I'm going to make it kind of a bluish gray. And I want to make sure I add a good amount of water because this is going to be my snowman's shadow. Okay, so I'm going to add plenty of water to there. I'm going to tap it on my paper towel, make sure I don't have too much in my brush right away. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some shadows. So I know I'm definitely going to have some like underneath his hat. I'm just moving my brush in different directions. And I would have some here around his necktie or his scarf. I would put it in there, off to the side of his face, maybe a little underneath his nose. Now I'm going to rinse my brush off and then I'm just going to have clean water on here. I'm going to give it a tap and then I can kind of tap in some just clean water and soften up my lines a little bit and kind of push and pull that color around. Okay, there's my first shadow. Now let's come in down here, do a little bit more. So underneath my scarf, this area here would have a shadow where his stick would be in, coming underneath this one, a little darker. Then over on this side. Okay, now you can decide, do you want some clean water to push those around or you're happy with those little dark shadows? That would be fine. I'm going to come in over here and take some more. Since this is the same color, I'm okay if those ones kind of get touched or blend together. That would be fine. Hello, Kelly Rose. Thanks for popping on today. Let's see, join in the YouTube hop. It's kind of a fun concept where we have a group of us, a team of us of presenters in the Take 5 group, and once a month we come on YouTube and support each other's channels, and we do a little hop and give an opportunity for people to come over and see what we're doing on our YouTube pages. So it's a fun concept, so we're glad that you're here hanging out with us today. Let's do a little underneath here. Something a little different than what we normally do. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of clean water, touch this, and then I'm just going to soften those lines a little bit so I don't have any hard edges is what I'm looking at doing. Okay, cute. All right, let's go work a little bit on this other guy's hat. So I'm going to just be picking up a little bit a little bit darker orange. So let's come over here. This would be the same color that I would use for my noses as well. But I'm going to come here and start that first. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to try to make sure I leave some white in here. This is mixed to tea consistency. This will be my lightest color. And we'll let that dry, and then we will add another layer of color on top of that, because that's the beauty of watercolor. It's the layering. So take your time and layer in your colors, build them up, see how your colors play with one another, how they move around your paper. Okay, cute. They still kind of look funny without their carrot noses yet. Until those carrot noses come on, it's kind of hard to know what they really all are about. Now I'm going to choose another pink, but I'm going to choose just a slightly darker pink in my box. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that in. Whoops, I probably need a little bit more water than that. So this would be, it's when you're doing watercolor, think of it as like you're painting the shadows. So you're going to add that next color in. Yeah, I'm liking the idea of having this more pink, and I'll add just a pop of red over the top of it. I think I like it pink. For Christmas, we were all about the pink. I guess we'll just continue on with all about the pink. All right, let's go ahead and work a little bit on his hat down here. So the color combination I used was that light pink, the orange, and the red. I chose a red is what I did on there. So I've got my orange kind of built up over here where I've got that going on that I used on the hats. And then the pink is the same pink that I used in the banner. So I have a little bit of that. And then I'm going to be choosing a red. And I haven't used red yet, but we'll just choose a red coming in here to add for the red parts. Okay, so I'm just going to start popping in some colors. I'm going to do a red here. And you can leave some white in that as well. So I'm going to do yellow, red, pink. Yellow, red, pink, yellow. Okay, now I have to let that dry. I can't really pop in and add some other colors in there. Since I have this red, I'm going to go ahead and pop this in on my other one, because like I said, I used the same colors throughout my drawing, my painting, but I use them in a slightly different manner with the patterns. So then I'm going to do pink there. Let's do this one red. And that yellow isn't quite the right color because it's going to get another layer of color on there. So I'm going to really build up the dimension by adding more color. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that dry. Now, since that one's kind of dry up there at the top, let's add a little bit more of this red then into this sign up here. And I'm just going to pop just a tiny bit in. So then I have some of that red, but it's not as strong of a red like I originally made it. And I really like the look of this. Ooh, I love that. That looks good. I like that so much better than the first version I made. And the one nice thing about these little drawings is they are small, so you can do some changes without having to do a lot, and you can create them again. For those who are new to my page, I do have a Ko-fi page. That's ko-fi.com/paintingcrafty. It's just like a Patreon page, except for it's for Ko-fi. And I know not everyone likes to draw or wants to do the drawing part, but they would like to paint. So you can get my tracers. Ko-fi page is where I have all of my tracers, and I send these out for any of the drawings that I do on YouTube or Facebook. And you can sign on for getting those, and it's a very reasonably priced membership. And I'd love to have you come on over. And even if you're not interested in getting the it's just a nice way to support my page. It's very reasonable. If you think you're getting value by watching and joining in to my channel and learning skills of how to draw and how to paint, if you find a value to that, it's just an easy way to pop on over. It's just a reasonably priced monthly membership, and I would so appreciate it if you did that as well. Appreciate everyone who comes on and supports my page. Good. I do a lot of content every month, so oops, okay. And I love doing that. I love sharing and creating things for people to draw along. Part of the fun, or part of the battle sometimes is like, what do I draw? What do I want to draw? So this is just a nice way to be able to have a place to pop in and know you're going to have something fun and whimsical to draw and paint every week, a couple times a week usually. Okay, now I'm just adding, whoops, I'm adding that same color of orange. I added way too much water or pigment that time. So I needed to wash off my brush and then come in with like a clean brush and just pick a little bit of that up. So even if you do get too much on there right away, not all is lost. You can just come in with a clean brush and kind of scoot that color around and pick it up and move it around. Well, watercolor is completely different than doing acrylic painting. So it's just a different process. Watercolor always will dry a little bit lighter than what it is when it's wet. So that's another reason why you're going to be layering your layers in. But you're not trying to cover up everything that you just put on. So the trick is to add the layers without covering up everything that you just put on. Okay, so I added a little bit darker yellow, another layer of orange. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more work on his hat. So I'm going to pick up that pink color again. And let's layer some of that in. So let's see, I'm going to do pink here, and then I will put a little bit of the golden color in there. Now, since the faces are pretty dry, and I'm going to go ahead and work a little bit on his cheeks. So I'm going to take a little bit of that same pinky color, give it a tap though, and I'm just going to come in and tap this color with the tip of my brush. So I'm making it circle-like, but I'm not making a solid circle. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so then I'm going to come in and wash my brush out, and I'm going to have just clean water on here, and I'm going to soften that out. I don't want too much water on there. I'll end up with a ring if I have too much water on there. So I have just a nice little fair amount of water, and I'm tapping it around and spreading the color out. Okay, cute. All right, let's do these other guys. I think I might put his nose in, and then that'll make it look a little bit more like a snowman. A little less like, I don't know what they look like now. Funny little creatures. Maybe they look like little ghosts right now instead of being snowmen. Okay, let's come in here and tap that around. Now I'm going to take some clean water, soften up my edges so it just blends nice, so it's not like just a little round circle. Wiggle and push that color around on the edges. Okay, cute. Cute. Let's pop some noses in there. So I'm going to take that orange color, this color here, and I'm not going to have a lot of water. So this is a little more pigment, a lot less water. I'm going to tap it on my brush, and then I'm going to come in with just the end, and I'm going to just kind of follow that little pencil line with these little strokes that I'm doing of what I originally used, and leave some open space. You don't have to color it all the way in. And just like that, he's got a little carrot nose, and he's starting to look like a snowman. Okay, let's add a little bit more here, the side. So I'm just doing those little baby strokes. This was a size 6 brush, so you could even use a smaller one if you have a smaller one. Okay. Cute, 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 cute. Now I'm going to come in and take a little bit of that, a little bit more orangey red that I have in my set. It's kind of the next one down. And I'm going to come in and add just a tiny bit of that orangey red at the bottom of my nose. And I'm just tapping it in at the bottom of where I just drew, or painted, I guess is what I want to say. And I'm just tapping a little bit here and a little bit there. And what that'll do, since this paint is still wet, it'll kind of sit and blend on its own. It'll do a little watercolor magic. Okay, so there's his cute little noses. Now all of a sudden he came to life, while all of a sudden he looks like a snowman. Okay, so up next, let's work on his, let's look on those little sticks. Now I'm just gonna mix a brown. I don't have a really great brown in my set. I often say that. That's the only thing I don't care about for my set. I don't have a really good brown. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that red brown. I'm going to add some black to it, maybe darken it up, perhaps add a little bit of goldenness to it. I'm just going to kind of take all the browns I have, mix them together, and make my own brown. One way to get around it. If you don't have it, try to create it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Again, I'm happy. Maybe a little bit more black. Add that in there. Okay, yeah, that looks like a nice little stick color. Let's see where we are with that. I'm going to come right with the tip of my brush and I'm going to follow the stick line. Well, this has a lot of water in it. So it's going to be a light color, and I'll probably have to do 2 layers at least because it is pretty light. All right, let's add a little bit of stick here too. Whoop. And then over here too. Cute, 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 cute. I'm going to need to add a little bit more pigment because my color that I mixed has a lot of water in it, and it's not going to darken up the way I need it to. So I'm just going to take a little bit more, just a little bit more color, dip it in there, and then add it to this one. So I'm going to come in here since this is still wet. I can add the color in, and it will blend on its own. Don't have to do a lot of extra work. You can kind of tell how it's nice to have these little pointed round brushes. They work perfectly for these small little drawings. Great. Okay, let's work a little bit more on these hats here. So I'm going to choose to do pink. Now I do have this issue. My stick is kind of wet in certain areas, so I'm going to need to make sure I'm not touching that stick. But I'm going to add the pink in here. Add that on there. Okay, let's add the pink on this one. And here, oh, I still got those little fuzzies. I don't know where they're coming from, but they are annoying. Very annoying. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of a dark pink. I have this dark pink in my set here. This was the bright pink, and this is that darker pink color. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that, and I'm going to add it onto the orange hats for another layer of color. Okay, so I'm going to touch it here. Pink and orange, and this color combination is one of my favorites. I do enjoy it. Let's add just a tiny bit more. That pink might have a little bit of white, or it's more of an opaque color. It's not as translucent, but ooh, that's pretty. I like it. I like it. That just adds another depth to that painting. I'm going to take that same pink that I just used, and I'm going to tap a little bit of that into the little balls on the top, because I only have one color there, so I want to make sure I'm darkening the color, adding that next layer of richness to my color. Maybe add a little bit more here too. Oops. All right, now the other color for this hat, we needed to add the brighter yellow, so let's pop back up here to the yellow part and add that into the band. So let's come in here, and we're just about done with this sweet little drawing. Up next is going to be Jeannie from Jeannie's Clifton's Crafting Casa. She'll be on next, and her link to her page is in my description. So if you want to follow along on the hop, you can just go ahead and click that and see where she's at. Now we got one more color, just a slight little blue background. So I'm going to pick up just a nice little pale blue, and maybe I'll just use this little well. And this is going to be the background color. Okay, so we're going to come in, and I'm just going to scoot around my back. I switched up to a size bigger brush, and when I do the backgrounds, to keep them whimsical and loose, I do switch the direction of my hand a lot, and I like to leave open areas of my background. I like that whimsical nature of the drawing and or the painting, and that's just the kind of style I like, and it's the style that I teach is more of a whimsical style. So that look works really well for me. And I'm only going to do one layer. I'm just doing a very light layer. And I'm not spending a lot of time next to the areas that I've already painted, because watercolor isn't permanent at this stage. Well, watercolor is never all the way permanent, but it's very fragile right now. And if I get into those areas too much and add too much water into those areas, the same thing will happen. My colors will just blend right into each other, and there won't be a separation of color. Now let's quickly add just a few more little lines. If my paper's dry enough here, let's do a little bit more doodle work. I like to add, I usually add a heart somewhere in my drawing. So I'm going to add that to this little snowman guy. I'm going to come down here. I like to do lines, dashes, come down. This is where I'm going to throw my heart in, I think. Put that right there. I like to have a little heart somewhere. I'm going to do dash, dash, dot, dot. Maybe come across this way. Around. I'm going to do just a little on his face. Dot, dot, dot. And I'm using the 0, 1. You could even pop down to even a little bit smaller if you wanted to. The only thing about that is with the watercolor paper, it is a little bit thicker, so sometimes that will wreck those tips on those markers when you get super tiny. Okay, and let's add a little bit more here. This maybe will be dry enough. Just a tiny bit. Now, I didn't tape this down. You could actually tape this down. If you tape them down, it's nice to have it onto a surface that you can move around. So if you need to change an area where you need to move it to a different area, you most certainly can that way, instead of having it taped down to your desk if you need to move it. I'm lucky enough to have a studio space, so I can leave things out, which not everybody has that ability to be able to do that. Let's turn it just a little ways, and I can do the doodle marks on my top now. And I can come in and add, maybe a few little X's, come around. I vary my line. I don't usually keep it straight, well, because I already have this as a solid line. So the idea of doing this is just creating some motion without another solid line. So it's just a great way to add a little bit more motion and whimsicalness to your drawings by adding these little doodles. And I love to doodle, and I love to scribble too. Doodling and scribbling, I like them both. Okay, so let's come this way, add a few more here. And add some here. Okay, cute. All right, we have a little bit more time. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of white to it. So I just ordered these ones at Christmas time, and they came this way. I noticed this time around they had more Japanese writing on them. These are a Japanese pen, these Uniball Signo, the UM153. They have a nice white ink. These are brand new ones. My other ones were starting not to write quite well enough, and so I ordered a set of 3. I had made the mistake before. I had ordered more than that, and I'm wondering if they don't dry out a little bit, or they just didn't work as well as I had them longer. So I just ordered 3 this time, and I'm going to see how they work. But this is a great white ink pen to be able to add some of those brighter whites if you want to. So this is where I like to scribble. So I like to come in and do just a tiny bit of scribbling. But look at that white ink. It's just so, I don't know, maybe if it picks up with the camera or not. It's a great white pen. This one is so much better than some of the others that they are available. I might come in here and add just a little bit of brightness this way. Choose a side that you might want to add some brightness on it as like a highlight. I'm going to choose that side. I'm going to come over here and do a little scribbling on this hat. Just a little bit of line work. And perhaps even down here, I'll add a little bit of white on the band. It sometimes looks cute if you want to put a few little white dots on your cheeks just as a highlight. Come in, pick a little spot, add a little bit of highlight that way. I'm going to add some on his scarf. So I'm going to travel this way with my hand to give it the same direction of like I drew it. And in the center, I'm just going to do some loops. Come around. Over here, add a few more. Okay, and let's come over here and add just a tish bit more of the white scribbles. Cute. Add them there. Okay, and if you want to pop some of them at the top, you could easily come up and just do a few little ones like that. And I'm going to call her done. Now, if you wanted to put some snowflakes in there, you could add some snowflakes. You could do something like that. That would be cute as well. Let's turn you this way. Oh, there we go. So in the end, I always say, well, they might not be twins. We'll put them this way. Maybe you can see them better. They're not going to be twins ever, but they could be related, right? They could be cousins. I do like the look of the pink banner just a little bit more on the one that I originally, or I did now, versus just having the red on the top of the camera. Where's the camera? But they are a cute little drawing. I hope you will try them. And again, if you want to post yours after you finish, just pop on over to my Painting Crafty page on Facebook, and you can post it underneath the picture that has this image on it for announcing the live. And I'd love to share your work if you wouldn't mind. I love sharing it because I think it's important that everybody knows and can be encouraged, or you give ideas for other people too to be able to do them. Because no matter what, we all have our own likes and dislikes, and we all have our own hand and our own creative eye. So it's fun to see what everyone does. Well, keep on with up with the hop, and we'll see you over at Jeannie's. Bye now. Oh, if I can find the off button.